Just another day at the office. This is our view here at the cabin. Pretty nice. And then got the woods going up the hill there. I have no idea where we are. I'm really, my sense of direction is pretty confused because I haven't been here in the daytime yet. Due to the wedding, I had to, we arrived in the dark, and then I got up early yesterday and went out and came back in the dark. And we got to check out in a few hours, but it's pretty nice here. I'd recommend it. Hey, I am having a really rough time with anxiety right now. And, I haven't talked about that for a long time on this channel because it's not been an issue really. And, I allowed myself to get into kind of a state, and there were several bad decisions that I made that led up to that. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the complete and utter powerlessness that we all have in the face of things like the Texas church shooting. And so the background is that I've been getting messages in my inbox like, what do you think about this? And I realized that I've talked about this kind of thing enough on this channel that, seems appropriate that I would keep talking about it. And so the way that I experienced this shooting was that I was trying to talk myself down from a panic attack sitting on the couch with a blanket. I wasn't in the fetal position. I was doing okay. And my wife was sitting there talking to me, and she said, I need you to not look at the news. Don't look at the news. And I thought, shit. Like, what now? What now? And she said, well, just don't look at it. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to give me some kind of something, because of course I'm like reaching for my phone as we're having the conversation. And she says, well, there's been a shooting at a church, and it's horrible, and just don't look at it. And I, even though she's married to me and knows the intimate details of my anxieties and things like that, she still doesn't quite understand that church shootings don't trigger anxiety in me. Mass shootings, nuclear war, the stuff that I talk about on the channel is not the stuff that triggers anxiety in me, or I wouldn't talk about it on the channel. I'm triggered by existential questions and, big picture questions like that. And I engaged in a lot of discussion about those things over the weekend, with several, I won't say pints of alcohol. I probably wasn't measured in pints, but I engaged in a little too much drinking. Nothing excessive from an objective point of view, but for me, it was like, oh, you stay up late drinking and talking about, existential stuff for 2 nights in a row, you're going to have a panic attack the next day. And so isn't it odd that I can like take the news of a church shooting where 25 people are dead, including children, and be like, oh, well, that's really sad. But, if you bring up like multiverses, I will end up under a blanket on the couch. Isn't that weird? Isn't it strange? I don't know. I don't know why that is. Again, that's not really the point of this video. The point of this video is to say, coming from that perspective, learning about this thing from a place of intense despair and anxiety, hang on, I gotta figure this out. So normally when you learn about a mass shooting, you're in a good place, or you're at least in like some sort of neutral place. You're at work, you're going about your normal life. For me, I learned about this at a moment that was outside of my normal life. And the scary thing about it to me is that it actually sounded normal. Like I was almost comforted in my pit of existential despair by the idea of like, oh yeah, well in the news there's another shooting, and it's kind of just how, it's like, oh, another celebrity, dies of a heroin overdose or whatever. Like, the tragedy, the tragedy stream to which we all subscribe is still running and everything is still normal. When obviously it's not normal for the people that were involved in this. But what's spooky to me is the way that our society has conditioned all of us as media consumers. Um, like I almost wanted to like really read up on it because that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to get all the news and you're supposed to like learn all the tidbits about the guy's crazy past, and it's an anxiety that we are now learning how to deal with, that we are now like um, prepared to face every day because it happens all the time. So it was a lesser anxiety than the anxiety that I was already dealing with. Um, and that's terrifying. I mean, that should cause even more anxiety. I say that to say we're like moving toward a place in our society where this won't be news anymore. Like the only ones that make the news will be the ones that are like unique. Do murders make the news? No. They might make your local news. I was once on the scene of a 5 fatality, 9 car accident. Didn't make anything other than local news. To me, it was the most significant carnage I've ever seen in my life. But to the media markets, it's like, that happens enough that it's not really worth covering at anything other than the local level. This morning when I checked into Facebook, it wasn't on the little box with the trending stuff. Not that big a deal. Just another shooting where 24 people are killed and another, several dozen are injured, and not that big a deal. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going. This is just a part of our lives now, and there it is. But then on the other hand, what do you do about it? You ban guns. Didn't stop Columbine. The assault weapons ban of '94 through 2004 was in full effect during Columbine. Whatever. I would be listening for listening to any political solutions, but seriously, like, what are you going to do? Well, we need more mental health awareness. Okay, but the majority of these guys were already on the radar. The majority of these guys, like James Holmes's, shrink was like, hey, something ain't right with this guy, and the authorities did jack shit. So it doesn't, like, all the solutions are already, sorry, there's cat drama going on. Like, all the solutions are already being applied. Cho, who shut up Virginia Tech, he was under, I believe he was in treatment. It's a strange emergent phenomenon. Like, we've given all the people of a certain kind of craziness something to aspire to. So that's why I included little tidbits from my weekend at the beginning of this video, because that was my weekend. Oh yeah, I went to work, went on vacation, had some panic attacks. There was a mass shooting. Just another weekend here on the Gridley's Folly channel. There is no solution. The response is to love your neighbor. What else are you gonna do? I'd like to end on, I could say the same thing in some sort of more uplifting, meaningful way. So I'd like to end on a better note, but I don't really have that in me right now. So I am going to try to practice what I preach and go play with my kid. And then we're going to take a walk and talk to the neighbors or something. That's the best I can do today. Don't go shoot up a church. And don't contribute to the reasons, justified or not, that other people might want to go shoot up a church. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.